The title of the poem is Fallon's Bench. I am the wind, a passing swallow diving through a freshly cut field, a peeper calling out for spring, a bass chasing an elusive eel, the ebb and flow of a sandbar, a deer sipping a cool spring at a full moon, daffodils exploding on a hot May sun, a blast of warm air and honeysuckle on the neck, the shad bright with morning dew in the hollow, sea smoke billowing from the east. I am here, watching, guarding, and most of all, loving your precious steps. You will never be alone. That's it.
It's called And Sometimes. And the Guru says, sit, be still, listen to the voice within. So I close my eyes and listen, and the voices come. Sometimes the voice is only a hum, a gentle breath over chords. I wait and I listen. And sometimes it's the voice of a woman, brown and tall, under a tree on a beach wide and white. Hands on her ample hips, a bright wrap of fabric around her head. She leans back, her face to the sky, and laughs. A rich, rolling sound washes over me, and I listen.
The epigraph by Li Young Lee is, when I look at the ocean, I see a house in various stages of ruin and beginning. Ocean. Today, a north wind paints white mouths on the waves, voracious mouths, crunching shore sand between wet lips, spitting it out. Today, even the seagull must go hungry, must stand and face the wind. I stand and face the knowing that ruin spawns beginning, beginning begets ruin. You, ocean, I shout, what kind of a house is this? Wind whistling in my ear, like any house, like your house.
This poem is called Dart Sail. It was in response to questions that most Indian women have to face in the subways and the buses when they're asked why they wear a dot on their forehead. So it's sort of an exaggerated take on that. Dart Sail. What's in your forehead? Those stickers come in red? One size fits all darts on sale in Bloomingdale's? Is that your G-spot? Tantra Yantra baby, your Kundalini? Gee, is that a tattoo? The gang get you? Vendetta in New Jersey? Skinhead seeds, fade or blood, problems the dark period. Do you see fucking double? Does it mean you're available? You're kosher, right? A holy girl. I like that. If men wear them, are they fruitcakes? You a chakra talking flake? Do you have good karma? Is that lady bad, mama?
One of the things that I've been thinking about is the poems that you write that is you know, when you're writing you, this, and that you will never really know that you wrote that poem, and how many poems are out there floating around to it, a you that will never know anyway. This is one of those you poems that I wrote to my husband when our marriage was ending. Something lost. You might think I'm looking for something lost, here along the high tide line, lifting the strands of crisping seaweed, moving my hands through the stones as though caressing them. I love the sound they make passing over each other. A stone is smaller than a rock. A pebble is smaller than a stone. The size of a heart is a fist. Sometimes I think your heart is a stone. Sometimes I think it's a fist. I can hear Louise saying, what does it matter? And it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. Except that describing is what I do. and sometimes it's all I can do.
On equinox, a robin is slowly building her nest. She sits on one of the higher branches of our still winter-naked maple. She anxiously tucks small twigs, weaving the impenetrable. Each time I walk beneath, she sits up and chides me. She's an expert in propriety. My lover and I walk down a rutted path, grasses worn down by our predecessors. We walk for half a day. We walk for half an hour. Time does not matter. We stop to rest. We are encircled by towering pines.
Had she been asked to speak, was the overall title. It was like this. Joseph wanted a son, but he couldn't, he couldn't do it. He went to the rabbi who said, when the moon is dark, go to temple, pray all night. Tell your wife not to be afraid. When Joseph left, I washed and oiled my body, put on fresh linen, lay trembling on our bed.
Washington, D.C., April 17th, 1952. It's a boy. For whatever reason, miss, you endured the 9 months and pain of labor. I thank you for your time. Were you even 18 when you traded him to Jewish family service for empty-armed freedom? Your Portuguese weekend lover did not ever know he sired a son you cut loose to strangers.
It doesn't have a title. I'm open to suggestions. Just after the last of the solid foods, and they went quickly, mind you, the mashed potatoes, the oatmeal, finally the pureed soups, and just before the medicine only, there was a time of slight resistance, a momentary hesitation, and then the giving in. So when the pain finally beat her, she surrendered to the morphine. For weeks, she'd been resisting it. The taste, the notion. We mixed it with pink lemonade and Gatorade before even their sweetness became too painful. I feel, she said slowly one day when she could still speak like a bird. Optimistic, I asked if she felt like she was flying. No, she said, turning slowly toward me. It's the dropper. I told my sister about it, and we laughed a little. She thinks I worry too much about signs and miracles. She's probably right. Later, though, and not by much, it all made sense. Our mother rallied for applesauce the same day she agreed to the diapers. Crouched before her, I used a baby spoon I'd meant to throw away and slowly tipped it into her mouth. Its coolness made her wince, and I winced too. We turned the diaper routine into something of a dance, and mastering that, we revisited the morphine. By then, she was thick with death. It was in her eyes, her labored breath. And I was barely human too, stumbling to and from her bed with medicine, day into night into day again. She laid there patiently then, starving, tiny, little bird, eyes and mouth both wide with waiting. It was easier because by then her taste had flown, and I was glad for it. Those final days, it was the only thing with wings that worked.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not really gonna rap. By the way, I'm the sound guy. I'm with the video crew, hence the name. Yeah, I do rap in my free time, which is writing rhymes is kind of like poetry, but you do it to a beat. So I never done this before. I always have a beat in the background and some backup dancers, some hoochies. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm just gonna try and do it in poetry form. So this is all really new to me. So if I screw up, don't throw anything at me. All right. If time is of the essence, I'm counting down the seconds, paying close attention, a step closer to death in. Figure out which way I'm headed. Any direction is better than the present. It feels like my feet are buried in cement. As time keeps slipping, it flies by, right in front of my eyes. What a surprise. I need to stop wasting time and take a good look at this face of mine and what I want out of life, 'cause time is running out. My mind is in a drought. I wish I could call a time out and stop every clock on the planet, but it will never stop. I can't stand it. The second hand ticks. I start to panic. Sweat dripping down. I wish I could vanish, but I can't. And I know that the truth's ahead of me, and it's time for me to meet the enemy. Isn't it funny? He resembles me. Don't want to see my lifetime slip down the pipeline. So that's why I write rhymes and go out at nighttime, 'cause I know.
This is called the Brown Plains Afterword. Consider Kelsey, age 29, imprisoned during the time when utility companies have commandeered the penal system. When she was 17, she stops a moving police car by flashing her quizzical breasts in the exact center of the arc of its laser spotlight. Remanded to electric juvenile jail, Kelsey manifests rare time for 12 years under constant hum, the time of nothing but light. There is little but words beneath the buzz of constant fluorescence and negative space, and Kelsey must then climb the mortared brick wall to escape and transcend the yard. Only the very tip of her fingers fit inside the cracks. Climbing the wall, while excruciating, proves strangely illusionary.
This is called the geese. My boots made a sound in the snow like a piece of machinery still doing its singular job. They were warm and shed the snow like water falling off a fast-moving iron ship. The cold pack around us had become our permanent infrastructure, it seemed. I walked down a corridor of monolithic banks that had remained perfectly intact for a week. Further on, the banks were smaller, revealing the western sky in a rich bloom of orange rose that inked across the field. Innocence. Her name is Devon, and she drew hearts around her phone number in your 6th grade yearbook. With the courage of 12 years yet to be scarred, you called her, and she said yes. She will come to your house and walk with you downtown for ice cream. Is anything better than the cusp of summer, when all is green and itchy with potential, when night air fills with the headiest pubescent helium, and crickets sing their hearts out as mosquitoes light, delicate as filigree, as bloodlust, as the ice cream drips down your arm?
Everything smelled green and earth. The path brushed the lake edge, pushed through willows. I knew the rounded print in the black mud, its oval pad, 5 fine pricks where the claws sank in. How complete it was, one print for a whole bear. I believed in bear, the way you know in your flesh what bliss is or remorse. And yesterday, when I told you an outright lie to mend myself, a clawless lie, the bear's dark luster rippled in a thicket.
Counterfeit. I used to be an acupuncturist, some of you know that. I had a patient, a single woman in her 40s, aching to get married, who started dating a married man from Philadelphia. He was a firefighter. It was after 9/11, when firefighters were hotter than they usually are. Even I, brought homemade key lime pie to my local station that Thanksgiving. They were swimming in pies. This guy came up to New York on his off days. She couldn't understand why it wasn't a good idea, enjoying the attention, the distraction from her lonely life. I told her that if you want to get married, then dating a married man from another city is like buying a Gucci handbag on Canal Street. It may look like the real article, but the lining is cheap, and you'll always know it's a fake. It didn't end well. She cried over him in my office, week after week, as I stuck her with needles to ease the pain.
I'm very nervous up here. The opposite of being frank, or frankly speaking, is the title of this. The use of bunny ears, index finger and middle finger, putting things in quotations while speaking, is indirect in the worst way. Say what you mean. When you squeeze my nipples too hard, it gives me that homesick feeling. My friend in med school can't relax because doctors drive Porsches. I tell him he should meditate while the coffee pumps through my veins. Morning is a low pressure zone. The storms circle like angry prisoners with baby brains trying to upset my time.
For all of you who know me, I like to read my mom's poems because she writes beautiful poetry. She's also a painter, and since it's almost Mother's Day, I thought I'd, use that gag again.
Love your mother.
This is called Spring '82, just before the children come home. Somewhere in the wind rolls a plastic horse back on its wheels against his will. The cat visits further, stays longer from the house. Maple saplings dance to a bell loosely ringing. As I sit huddled beneath a Scottish rug in April fog sunshine, I find a long strand of my daughter's hair, copper glistening light piercing my right eye.
This one's called Tony's Poem Test. This one's from today. So it was one of the little exercises that we did. Thank you. How one loves a wood fire at dusk, the light not yet gone, and still I tremble, expecting a visitor, a phone call, an extraordinary sign in the sky, but no. I must build this fire while rending this tattered cloth of self. Beguiled, the wood is stacked and dry.
It's called Without. I turn on faucet to wash dishes, and out pours water as cold as killer's premeditation. I walk to the window to check for Julie's car. I'm beginning to hate Julie, a reaction formation. When she is home using water, I pray she will stop. Stay dirty. Don't brush your teeth. My rent includes heat, but I have no thermostat.